It was a warm Sunday afternoon in a quiet Texas suburb, the kind of day when families mowed lawns, kids rode bikes, and the smell of barbecue drifted through the neighborhood. Marcus Johnson stood by his grill, flipping ribs with a practiced hand. His wife, Renee, sat on the porch with a glass of lemonade, watching their 2 children chase each other across the yard. To anyone passing by, it was a picture of peace, a hard-working family enjoying a rare day off. Marcus was a tall, broad-shouldered man in his early 40s, his arms covered in tattoos that told the story of his youth, biker clubs, military insignias, and the name of his late brother. Despite his tough exterior, Marcus was a gentle soul. He worked as a mechanic, loved blues music, and taught his kids to respect everyone, no matter their skin color or background. But peace, in America, could be fragile, especially for a black man with a Harley. The sound came suddenly, screeching tires, the wail of sirens cutting through the laughter of his children. Marcus turned his head, confusion tightening in his chest. 3 police cruisers had pulled up in front of his house, lights flashing. Officers jumped out, hands already on their weapons. "Get on your knees," one officer shouted, pointing his gun at Marcus. For a split second, Marcus thought it was a mistake, maybe they were chasing someone else. But the red dot of a laser sight danced across his chest, and his stomach dropped. "Whoa, hold on," Marcus said, raising his hands. "What's going on? Get down, now," another officer barked. Renee screamed as their son clutched her leg. "He hasn't done anything," she cried. "Ma'am, stay back," a cop warned, aiming his weapon toward her direction. Marcus dropped to his knees, hands raised high. His mind raced. What could this be about? He hadn't broken any laws. The Harley parked behind him gleamed in the sunlight, a deep crimson bike, custom built, a work of art he'd spent years perfecting. One officer pointed to it. "That's the stolen bike. We got a call from dispatch. Matches the description." Marcus blinked, disbelief flooding his face. "Stolen? That's my bike. I built it from scratch." "Don't move," the officer snapped, approaching cautiously. Renee tried to show them the registration papers from the porch, but they ignored her. The kids began to cry louder. Neighbors peeked through curtains, their phones raised to record. The situation was spiraling out of control. Marcus kept his voice steady, knowing that anger could cost him his life. "Officers, please," he said quietly, "check the VIN number. It's registered under my name, Marcus Johnson." But the lead cop wasn't listening. He moved closer, handcuffs ready. Marcus took a slow breath. Years of leadership, discipline, and patience from another life, a life these officers knew nothing about, kept him calm. Because Marcus wasn't just a mechanic or a family man. He was the president of the Texas chapter of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. And those men didn't take kindly to anyone disrespecting their leader. The cold steel of the handcuffs bit into Marcus's wrists as the officer yanked him to his feet. His children were crying uncontrollably now, and Renee's voice cracked with fear. "You can't just arrest him. He hasn't done anything wrong." "Ma'am, step back," the officer repeated sharply, his tone showing no remorse. "We got a call about a stolen Harley matching this description. Until we verify ownership, he's coming with us." Marcus clenched his jaw but said nothing. Years in the service had taught him when silence was smarter than anger. Still, deep inside, a fire burned. He glanced at his Harley, his pride and joy, the machine he had rebuilt bolt by bolt. The police hadn't even bothered to check the VIN. One of the neighbors, a middle-aged woman clutching her phone, whispered to another, "I knew something was off about that man, always with those tattoos." Another replied, "Yeah, and that motorcycle crowd he brings around sometimes." Trouble. Marcus heard every word, but before he could respond, something else caught his attention, a sound in the distance. A low, rhythmic rumble. Then another. Then many. The officers turned their heads as the sound grew louder, filling the air like distant thunder. Down the street, a wall of motorcycles appeared, chrome glinting in the sunlight, leather jackets flashing red and white patches. The insignia on each vest read, "Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, Texas Chapter." The lead officer's face went pale. Oh, hell. Within moments, the street was surrounded. Dozens of bikers dismounted, forming a tight circle around Marcus's house. Their engines idled, growling like a pack of wolves. Neighbors retreated inside, curtains snapping shut. A massive figure stepped forward, removing his helmet. Reaper, the club's vice president. His eyes burned as he looked at the cops. "You boys must have lost your damn minds," he said. "You just cuffed our president." The officers exchanged nervous glances. "President?" one asked, his voice faltering. Marcus finally spoke, his tone calm but firm. "Yeah, you might want to double-check that VIN number now." Renee hurried to hand over the registration papers. One of the cops took them, scanning the name, Marcus Johnson, clear as day. The silence that followed was thick and humiliating. The lead officer swallowed hard. "There seems to be a misunderstanding, sir." Reaper stepped closer, glaring. "A misunderstanding? You pointed guns at his kids. You threw him in cuffs. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a damn insult." Marcus raised a hand, signaling his brothers to stand down. "Easy, Reaper. Let them go. They made a mistake. But next time, they better think before pulling their weapons." The officer fumbled with the keys, unlocking the cuffs. Marcus rubbed his wrists, then turned to his family, pulling his wife and kids close. The bikers revved their engines, the noise echoing through the neighborhood like a warning. As the cops retreated, Marcus looked them straight in the eyes. "Remember this," he said quietly. "Respect goes both ways." The Hells Angels rode off, their thunder fading into the distance, but that day, no one in that Texas suburb would ever forget who Marcus Johnson really was.